to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
It's Adam here. Now, have you ever felt worried about judgment? And that might be the kind of judgment of if you're in a busy room and everyone's talking, you feel like you can't get up and leave. Or if you're going to be interviewed on radio or TV or for a high-profile podcast, you might be in your head wondering, what are people going to think? Or if you're invited to do a speech or a presentation, you might be worried about, who am I to be doing that, and are other people in the room going to be judging me? If any of these things resonate for you, you might get some value from this session, because at its crux, it is all about the fear of judgment. And the antidote to fear of judgment quite often is self-acceptance, that if you accept yourself 100%, that fear of judgment isn't there because you've already reconciled every single part of you. And here's a really useful way to think about shame or feelings of criticism, that if the shame or criticism has validity, then the goal is not to make that emotion go away. The goal is to make a change within your life and become better in that particular area. The caveat, though, is if it's valid. That's difficult to do if you have perfectionism standards, and therefore nothing feels like it's good enough, in which case you're going to have lots of shame, lots of unworthiness, simply because your standards are misaligned. But if your standards are reasonable and you say, no, I'm capable here, I try hard here, I'm a good person, and then you're feeling all of this fear of judgment, then either self-acceptance is going to be really, really helpful, or if these things are valid, to create a desire to become a better version of you, not a bad thing. The idea that we are all perfect and all incapable of any kind of improvements is, quite frankly, ludicrous. But the fact that you can improve and get better does not mean that you are unacceptable as you are. The best way to change is to feel good enough with a desire to become even better. Now, this particular client would find themselves in situations where they felt confined or trapped or judged, and they had a feeling of getting hot and sweaty and flustered and finding it difficult to talk. Now, that's not great if you're in social situations and social situations that you feel you can't leave. So we do two things here. One, there's lots of kind of relaxation techniques, but we want to work with the part that is trying to protect them by thinking of worst case scenarios and turn that from a protector that is scaremongering to a protector that is reassuring. And then future pacing that to actually imagine those scenarios that were triggering and have those scenarios that are more comforting. It starts with a regression to a time where this was a very successful client that was featured on TV and at big award ceremonies, but quite often felt like they're an imposter, that they shouldn't be there. But there was a time at a celebrity birthday party where they were introduced to very high profile people and just felt like they belonged, that they felt, of course, they deserve to be there. That's an excellent resource state to harness for these different contexts. So I would encourage you to think about an area of your life where you feel that you aren't quite good enough, that you're scared or fearful of being judged, and that way you'll get more from this session. It was created for an individual. Some of the suggestions were perfect for them. They may not be relevant for you. So if you do want something customized and bespoke, I would encourage you to look at the link in the description, or you can check out my website, adamcox.co.uk, and there you will find a link to book a free consultation call on Zoom. We'll have a chat, and who knows, we might end up working together. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, give permission to release any tension, any worries, any fears of judgment or not doing it right. Breathe in the resources that you need and exhale any limitations that are no longer useful for you. And I want you to think of a color that represents pure self-acceptance. Not partial, but pure. And as you breathe in, imagine breathing in that color of distilled self-acceptance. And as you exhale, what if now is the time to release any of those old beliefs that aren't even true? Some people are haunted by an idea that they're not quite enough, not educated enough, not experienced enough. But it's a mirage. Whenever you feel enough gets further away. Whereas that pure self-acceptance says, I am enough right now. So breathe in that color of pure, distilled self-acceptance and release all of those perceptions of inadequacies. Release them. See them as a dark, grey cloud leaving your body in that outward breath. Consider this an emotional transfusion. Breathing in what you need and exhaling what you don't. Each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. And interestingly, the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. The more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. And the more your mind accepts that pure self-acceptance. As your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine a cottage by the coast, thatched roof, centuries of history, a connection with something authentic, real. Generations of people that knew who they were and who they weren't. Generations of people that had no need pretending to be something they're not. They accepted it, and their quality of life was enhanced by being exactly who they are. And I want you to imagine finding a bed in that cottage that feels like peace, tranquility. And just imagine continuing to breathe in that distilled self-acceptance, exhaling any limitations. Each breath takes you sinking into that bed, deeper and deeper down, enhancing neural plasticity where sometimes all it takes is one distinction, one refinement to a belief, an identity, and everything changes. And sometimes when one thing changes, it can't go back to how it was before. So let's work with the parts within you to create a useful, beneficial change. Because you already know how to feel calm, relaxed, and connected. And what if there's just certain places, environments, where you feel that you have to be on edge, on guard, judged in some way. And the paradox is, if judgment is a threat, your nervous system will act as if that threat is real. Like a child too scared to look at the monster under the bed, because there's a monster under the bed. But isn't it fascinating that when they finally have the courage to look, of course, the monster disappears. And there's a part within you that is keen to not avoid being judged, but embrace being judged. Because someone with full self-acceptance is immune to judgment. If a stranger came up to you and tried to mock you for being blue, it wouldn't make you feel bad. You're not blue. And even if you were, you would have accepted that you are blue. And by looking it through that lens of absurdity, I wonder how many other things are equally absurd. That you don't deserve recognition, perhaps is more absurd. You haven't earned your place, despite decades of dedication, work, and learning and wisdom. Isn't that more absurd? So as you breathe in that self-acceptance, consider it immunity. That's it, taking yourself deeper and deeper relaxed. The deeper relaxed you become, the more receptive your mind is to wonderful change. And perhaps you can drift back to a memory, a time when you felt like you belonged. Maybe it was the kind of place where famous, or those people held in high regard, were around and you were there. And I want you to drift back to that memory and just feel how comfortable you felt, accepting who you are, feeling like you belonged in that environment. I want you to feel that that environment can feel like a comfortable pair of shoes that you've worn many times. Observe yourself first. See that version of you. You are not smaller, not intimidated. Just that enthusiasm, excitement, engagement. Breathe the way you breathed back then, and then step into that version of you. Associate, see through your own eyes. Remember what it felt like. Feel the temperature, notice your posture. And there was energy there, but it wasn't anxiety. Mindfulness, activation, confidence. And just allow that feeling to grow stronger now. Internally, you can turn up the brightness, turn up the clarity. Instead of, who am I to be here? Really connect with the idea that, why wouldn't I be here? Turn up that sense of belonging. And even if you were introduced to someone, you would feel just as calm as speaking to someone you've known for years. People are just people. Not better, not worse, just people. So connect with the idea that wherever you are, whether you're at an award ceremony, on TV, introduced to high-profile people, you're not there by accident. You're there because smart, dedicated people thought that it made sense for you to be there because you belong there. So allow that idea to take root like a sapling. With time lapse, speed it up. Imagine the roots getting deeper and that idea flourishing. Feeling deserving of belonging is not location dependent. It's who you are at your very core. And maybe there's that feeling of course I belong here. Of course I can handle this. Maybe it's in your chest, your shoulders, your heart, your breath. Just imagine that sensation and amplify it. And maybe it expands beyond the realms of your physical body, like an aura, a field around you. And what if this is what composure with activation feels like? Or maybe recall a time when you were being interviewed outside on TV. You knew your topic. You felt credible. You felt all of that space. These neural pathways don't disappear just because you're inside a room. So amplify that composure and then do something. Maybe wiggle your toes or have a long outward breath. Something that you'd be able to do in any situation to connect with this feeling. Nobody else would know that long outward breath or wiggling of toes, but that's what makes it work. A discrete trigger that you can activate whenever you want to feel this way. And I want you to imagine going down into a living area in that cottage. And I want you to invite different parts of your spectrum of personalities. Just imagine there's a bus, a long bus, one driving seat, but over 100 passenger seats. And somewhere in that bus is a part that has been trying to protect you, alert you, warn you of danger, but invite them off the bus to sit down on a sofa or a chair. Invite the protector. Thank it. It's always tried to help. And ask that part if it was trying to protect, trying to help you. And if that part nods, then let me know by nodding too. That's it. And you can thank its wonderful intention. But I want you to share some feedback with that part. Think of a time that it tried to warn you by saying, this would be the absolute worst time to feel panicked, anxious, trapped. And that feeling of how you felt in that moment, a feeling of being on fire, confined, limited, judged, project it from you to that part that was trying to help. You didn't realize that by helping in that way, you were feeling that way. And if that part, the protector, is now aware that by helping in that way, they were contributing to the very anxiety that made things worse. Maybe their facial expression changes. Maybe ashamed, remorseful, apologetic. And if you can see the change, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to forgive that part, because the intention was good. But I want you to let that part know that you want their assistance. You're not going to exile them. You want to work with them. They are clearly influential and clearly care about you. But I want you to ask the part, not tell the part, if they would be willing to help you and protect you through reassurance and encouragement, not warnings and fear-mongering. Tell that part what it would be like. Reassurance would be just a conversation. You deserve this. You belong here. And notice how hard it is to feel anxious when you feel that you deserve it, that you belong, that everything is okay. Paradoxically, with reassurance, you are being protected even more than the warning. And if that part is willing to keep the intention but execute through reassurance and encouragement, then you might see a change in them. How they look, their expressions, their role. Maybe they take more pride, feel more significant. And just try it by stepping into that part and feel what you would feel if you were the protector, protecting through encouragement and reassurance. And then imagine a situation that in the past triggered that anxiety or change in body temperature. Imagine you are now that voice, but instead of saying, this would be the worst possible time to, you might reframe it then. This is the ideal time to feel proud. This is the ideal time to meet someone new. You deserve this. You belong here. And when you play the role of the protector through reassurance, you'll know if that common anxiety is now elusive. And if it feels elusive, let me know by nodding your head. Let's test it out. I want you to imagine it's 3 months from now. And just imagine you're in a big hall somewhere near the front. Maybe there's a presentation. There's people around you. And that voice is saying, you belong here. You're relaxed. If you want to leave, you can. You have just as much freedom as if you were at the back and there was an open door. If you're at the front and there's a closed door. And if that feels easier to relax there, amplify it. And then breathe in that way or wiggle your toes and feel calm, composed. Feel a sense that you are just as free as if you were outside in a large garden. It's all relative. Compared to being trapped in a tiny box, a room is spacious. A closed door is not a locked door. Feel that your mind is reassuring you with all the options that you have, rather than the limitations that are impeding you. And whether it was a fear of judgment, embarrassment, a loss of control, go back to that feeling where you feel you can handle any of it. So let's change what if to even if. I want you to imagine you're on a comfy chair looking at a screen. And I want you to imagine seeing yourself on that screen. But that backseat protector telling you what could go horribly wrong is now your guardian, your reassurer. And on that screen, imagine yourself in a big seminar. Doors closed, room warm. But that voice has changed from what if to even if. Even if I feel warm or hot, I remain composed. Even if someone looks at me or judges me, who cares? Even if my face flushes slightly, in the big scheme of things, it's nothing. And even if I feel activation, a heightened sense, I can direct it and release it. And what if the even if evolves either now or later? So the what if becomes I hope. Instead of what if the TV interview is inside You say, I hope it's inside. By having the experience of feeling relaxed inside, the monster under the bed disappears. I hope the door closes. Because even just once feeling composed, all of this disappears. Feel like you're planting seeds of new ideas. And it's the job of your unconscious mind to incubate, germinate, and help those seeds grow into ideas that become convictions, crowding out any of the old ideas that just don't serve you anymore. If a parent told you that you couldn't do anything without qualifications, at what point in your life was that assertion disproved? How many decades ago? Things change. So allow your mind to update its operating system, to keep what's good and let go of anything that no longer serves you. And I want you to imagine yourself a year from now at a big award ceremony. And just imagine that version of you, confidently, calmly, perhaps accepting an award or giving a small speech. Calm, composed, relaxed. That's where these seeds are heading, to a future like that. And as you hold that thought, it's time to return all the way back to the here and the now. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.